Welcome to another episode of Bleav in the Broncos on the Bleav Network, sponsored by Bet Online. I am Patrick Chiotti. I'm the host of this show, and joining me today, 6-year NFL veteran Stephen Weatherly. Stephen, thank you for joining the show. Great to have a former Bronco on the show. Chris Harris was on the show I mentioned before we got started, but it's always nice to have Broncos alum in. How you doing, man? How is life after football?
Pretty good. Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Favorite color is orange, so I love whenever I get to do anything with the Broncos. So that's always dope. Life after football has been interesting. We talked about healing from my football injuries, but then running my foundation, getting the reading program out there, giving out free art classes to kids nationwide, and now I'm starting to like dilly dally into the world of coaching on the college level. So I learned a lot during my time playing, and I think I have enough knowledge to try to spread it to the next generation to help them get a spot somewhere and change their lives or the people they love's lives. So I might get into college coaching a little bit.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. We had CJ Anderson on the show last year, and he talked about his experience in coaching as well. And that's such a big thing, I think, for former players. We've seen so many former players get into coaching. D'Amico Ryans obviously is like the big one now. Such a big success story for him. But I want to learn a little bit more about your foundation. So you're talking about it's for reading. What else do you guys do? Like, what's your main mission for your foundation?
Yeah, so the mission for the foundation is to help empower kids to chase their dreams with confidence and to be mindful along the way. And so we have 3 core things we provide. We do reading programs for elementary school kids. And then for any kids that enjoy STEM, like myself, I was an engineer. I was part of my high school robotics team. So kids that have an interest in that but don't have access to it, we give them free online courses through ID Tech to help those kids maintain their interest in STEM and then before they go to high school. And then we also offer free art courses that not only help to cultivate the next generation of artists, whatever they like to do, but also help them showcase their art, help them build a portfolio, help them eventually live a life as an artist. And so I have my art friends that I've met throughout my NFL career at the highest levels that make a living from it. I asked them to come back and like do some pro bono work and teach some kids virtually over like the winter break, high schoolers how to make something cool and how to actually build a business off of that cool thing they make. So we've been able to do some really, really, really fun things. Like we helped start a 16-year-old won our custom shoe competition for the foundation. Her prize was a year's supply of Chuck Taylors. She turned that into a custom shoe business. And so we love stories like that because she always had the potential, but just didn't have a platform to show it. The NFL player hosted a competition, and that's all she needed.
That's incredible. I mean, I can hear it in your voice. I can see it in your eyes. It's something that you're very passionate about. That's amazing, man. That's truly incredible. So happy that you're here to talk about the Broncos because last night, first primetime game of the season, New Orleans, Sean Payton homecoming. Like this was a big, big deal. And watching the pregame stuff with Peyton sitting down and talking about that game, you could tell that he was getting emotional. This was a big experience for him. And having to coach against his former coach in Dennis Allen, this was a game that they really needed to win, especially coming off of that loss to the Chargers at home. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the upcoming game against another one of your former teams, the Carolina Panthers. And then we're going to talk about maybe some trade targets for the Denver Broncos, if that's something that they do need at this point in the season, sitting at 4-3. Before we get into that, we've got a quick message from our sponsors, Bet Online. They are the world's most trusted betting platform and the number one source for everything sports betting. Every stat, matchup breakdown, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. With the largest catalog of odds on everything from NFL, MLB playoffs, NHL, NBA now, and political props. You can even bet on politics. When the game's over, head on over to the online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of the over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering, Bet Online. The game starts here. And Steven, where we're going to start is with the 33-10 win over New Orleans last night. Massive win for the Broncos. They needed this one bad. What impressed you about the Broncos last night?
The thing that impressed me about the Broncos was the consistency on defense with the pressure. You always watch up front, being a front seven guy. All my career was in the trenches. Playing with those guys too, like Barron and Coop, especially on the edge. I love seeing it. The constant pressure, the constant hand working, the near sacks that are pressures, that's really good. So the one thing I really liked was the defense. One thing that I miss, because I got to see Javonte before his knee injury back in 21. And so I was there for those moments. And one thing that I love, 77 offensive linemen, when the offensive lineman chased the running back, like that is the one thing I absolutely love. Like that is your conditioning. So you don't ever have to run a sprint after practice with us ever. But if you can just chase the running back to knock one or two guys off the pile, or if you can flash back to 2021, how many times did he get hit? He made the first guy miss. A lineman comes up and pushes him for an extra 4, 5, 6 yards. As a defensive player, when that happens to you, it drains you. It boils your energy. You're zapped. As an offensive guy, it does nothing but give you juice because all you hear from the sideline is nothing but roars and screams from the defensive guys. Because one, we get to stay off the field longer because you just got a first down. But two, we love that like big power rugby push. Like to bring that back would be key. And as you saw that go down, you saw a couple of wide receivers after they got their blocks come in and push. And you also saw classic 77 come down and push. And where you see the defense getting chippy, starting to get to them a little bit. That's something I would love to see come back. And if that comes back with Javonte having a good game and everyone questioning his knee and whatnot, if that comes back, you'll see that same type of production. But it looks like they have more running backs that can also split that load as well. So to see that kind of energy with these new backs as well, I think that can give you a certain element that's going to be hard to stop, especially as you go against a run-heavy team with the Ravens, and then a team where it's going to be a gut punch, a get it out the mud kind of game with the Chiefs. You don't know how you're going to get them, but if you could get it on the ground and turn the tempo a little bit slower to where you could take advantage of it, pulling a play out of my old Vandy playbook, #GoFors, how we beat Bama, bring them to our world, slow the game down a little bit. You can do that with long, draining run plays. So that's something I would love to see back on the offense as well.
Yeah, and I mean, looking back at that loss to the Chargers just controlled the clock for the majority of the game. They were converting third downs at a really, really high clip, but that run game was so dangerous. They had 33 minutes of possession in that game. And last night, the Broncos went into that game with the same mindset. We're just going to control the clock. And you talked about Javonte coming back from the knee injury. And there were concerns last season. Is he getting rushed back? And he still got over 200 carries last year, which is kind of insane for him coming back from that injury. But this year, it starts out a little slow and people are like, I don't know what's going on with Javonte. But I feel like these last 3-4 games, he has really come back. And I mean, you can see the vision. You can see he's a little bit more patient. He's got a lot more burst when he's hitting the lanes. And then he's running tough again. And it makes my heart so happy that he is running tough again. New Orleans going into that game, not very good against the run. They've had tackling issues. They talked about it throughout the whole broadcast about tackling issues. But when you pair tackling issues with a running back that's just running tough like Javonte is, that's going to be tough to beat. So very happy to see him back. Where do you think that the Broncos can improve on here? I know you talked about the run game, but where do you think they can improve? We've got Carolina coming up next. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But the biggest thing is there's still some areas where they need improvement, specifically on the offensive end. Where do you see big areas of need?
That's tough. I always look at offense as a defensive guy, and it's a whole nother breed. I know on defense, depth and developing depth is key. Getting confidence in those younger players so they can go out there and step and do what they need to do so there's no drop off in production is key, especially
Yeah.
at least for me. I'm a believer of to win games in late November, December, January when it matters most. You're going to need strong defense and a strong run game, and
Amen.
so that to help the team get to where they want to go and get that wild card berth, I think is going to take a defense that has depth to it, because you would hate for someone like Allen to go down and like, what are you going to do with production? Granted, everyone else, DJ, Franklin Myers, everyone's out there producing, and your edge guys have depth as well, but you still want to keep that on the secondary. I know a little bit with Surtain being out, some younger guys get to show what they have and to sharpen their blade before they get into the tough times in the back end of the season. On offense, the head coach talks about his joker, that wild card, that person that's going to go out and do it. I mean, as an offensive guy, you can always say receiver or tight end, but I don't know what that looks like. You know what I'm saying?
Could be any of them.
I think it could be, but if you scheme it up right, the person can go for it. So I could say, like, you need a speed guy, right?
Yeah.
Take him on like deep crosses, use Cortland in all these different ways. Either you got to keep the top on this one, or you have a big body in the seams that you got to put someone on. Or you can go out and get another one. You can have that old school 2 tall receivers on the outside. What are you going to do with shorter corners? Or you could have that Taysom Hill kind of. I know, like, some people were comparing Taysom Hill as he was running, but one of those type of like Swiss Army knife H-back tight ends. He comes in, it messes the defensive coordinator up, because do we think of him as a pure blocker, pure passer? Oh no, he's in Wildcat. Let's bring everyone up. He can hit a 10-yard pass, makes everyone sit on their heels for a little bit. That indecision leads to big plays. So it's like Sean Payton has been used to these weapons all over the map. So you can talk about bringing one in, but I don't think it'll cost him too much either, because he is the schemer. So one just has to be available. So who is it going to be? I don't know, but I think they will go and get one on offense.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, Sean Payton's also historically a guy that he doesn't really pay, multiple wide receivers in a room. Like, he'll pay one guy and then use like late round draft. Like Devon Bailey is probably going to be one of those guys. Troy Franklin is probably going to end up turning into one of those guys. Jaleel McLaughlin, they've kind of talked about him as being that like Darren Sproles type of role. But when I look back at Sean Payton's career in New Orleans, and I really think about the running back rooms that he had, Reggie Bush, Mark Ingram, Darren Sproles, like Deuce McAllister. He would pair kind of like a generic back, guy that can kind of do a little bit of everything well, a power back, and then like a scat back type, right? So the big ones were like, it was Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, and then Darren Sproles back, that 3-headed monster, just absolutely disgusting. Maybe they'll go get one. It would be interesting to see where I know a lot of people are talking about Kamara, and I personally, like, I wouldn't hate it. It's just, what is the cost going to be? He's got a huge contract as well. So I think figuring that out. But you did mention depth, and you mentioned some of these guys developing on the defensive side. You said you were in the trenches. You're a front seven guy. Jonah Ellis, Nick Bonito, those two guys specifically on this defense. Did you feel like these are the next two guys to step up as the Broncos edge rushers alongside Coop and Barron? But what have you seen from those two guys as far as their development? Ellis being the rookie, and then Bonito.
It's very much what I'm seeing, at least from my opinion, is a bunch of guys playing well together. You're seeing a lot of trust out there. You're seeing guys knowing that they're with other pass rushers. And so with that comes like lane integrity, lane responsibility, which is important for mobile quarterbacks. And you see a lot of people winning or beating and coming through, getting their hand on the quarterback, forcing pressure, making them come off the spot. And I think that just is a testament to what they're building up front in regards to mentality, pass rush. So to see those two guys, the rookie and then Bonito, come in and then he's been there for a while, but then come in and have success the way they're having success. I think that's a testament to the culture that they're building within the front seven and in the trenches. And so with that mindset and that mentality and guys holding each other accountable, you can bring in guys that may not be super well known, super flashy, high pricey, but they'll come in and they'll get the work done and they'll provide that pressure. And someone's going to get through somewhere along the line, especially when you sprinkle in those people in the interior as well, because interior pressure is everything. And they are not afraid to get on the edge and come downhill on a guard, which is something I love seeing as an edge guy.
Yeah, definitely. Last thing before we move on from New Orleans, Broncos win 33-10. Bo Nix in this game, 164 passing yards, 75 rushing yards in this game. He was 16 for 26. There's been a lot of talk about Bo Nix as the rookie. What kind of impact is he going to have on Sean Payton's offense? Is he a viable quarterback option for the Denver Broncos going forward? But Steven, 4 for 11 on third down last night. Third down conversions have been a big problem for the Broncos offense. Is this time to be worried about Bo Nix and his development in the NFL, especially after last night? Or are you feeling different?
No. Well, you know what it is for me, and I'm weird on this. I'm a firm believer that every quarterback can succeed if they have the coach and the trust of the coach behind them, because they can scheme it up for them to be successful. Like the veer option can be successful in the league if everyone buys in. So it's more of like, in this situation, I would see it more as just the head coach want this guy to be his guy, right? So it's like, I have this tried and true method of how I want to get things done. I'm going to bring people in to see if they can do it. If they can't do it, I can either A, say it's them, not me, and find someone else that can, or B, I can slightly adjust it to tailor this person's particular cup of tea. Sean Payton is not the type to adjust subtly to someone else's cup of tea. And so Bo Nix is a great quarterback. The way when his feet are patient, something the commentators were pointing out last night, his feet are patient, it's on a dot, it's a line, it's right between the numbers. Feet get kind of antsy. I know there was one pass early. There was a deep comeback on the left side of him. And then there was a crosser as well. He threw it right between the both of them. That kind of, you see that kind of stuff. A little bit, a little bit of bad accuracy on the move as well. But that's just timing and stuff like that. I think Bo Nix is going to be a great quarterback and can do what they need to do to not only win late, but also win in the playoffs, because in my mindset, you would stack up that run game. You would get these three running backs to be a huge problem when no one wants to hit when it's cold outside, right? And your defense needs to play together, strong, confident, and use every game as a chance to put a notch on their belt, and they're playing with true grit. With that, your quarterback doesn't need to be a playmaker. They can be a game manager, and that's no disrespect. But someone who can really understand and know where to go with what, that's going to be a long-time winning quarterback in any system. So, I like Bo Nix.
Agree, 1,000%. Yeah, I think Bo Nix has all the tools, like, and he's very clearly a smart player between the eyes. Like he's someone who takes his preparation very seriously. He's someone who, a lot like Sean Payton, he loves to be in the film room and find things that he can work on and tweak. And I think it'll come around. That throw that you mentioned, where he had Franklin wide open for a touchdown, and then it was Lucas Kroll coming across on the crosser. He hesitated, and you got to pull the trigger at some point. And I know Davis Webb, the quarterback's coach, was giving him an earful on the sideline. But like, that is one of those situations where, as a rookie quarterback, it's like you got to give him a little bit of grace, because it's such a new experience. But like, those are the situations that we can learn from and grow from. I think you're absolutely hitting the nail on the head. Game manager is not a disrespectful term for quarterbacks. I'm tired of it being a disrespectful term for quarterbacks. I'll take a game manager any day.
Every time.
So every time.
Every time. Hit the open guy.
Just
hit the open guy.
Just make the throw, make the read. One thing that I saw from Sean Payton that I really liked last night, well, a couple things, was he's including way more RPOs he called last night. People have been calling for him to call more RPOs. He does call at least like 5 a game. When I go back and watch it, I see him. But, sometimes he's giving, sometimes, the read's not there and he's got to move off of it. But last night, man, they were hitting it hard. They were running RPO slant like it was nobody's business.
Yes.
So that was great to see. And then the designed run. We saw him get Bo Nix into design quarterback run situations. I think it was that 3rd and short where they just called like sweep to the left, and it was beautifully ran. Huge gain for him.
Power left. Yeah.
Yeah. And thank the football gods that he did it, because I've been calling for it for a while. But big game, massive game for Bo Nix and the Broncos, and Sean Payton as well, getting the Domecoming win. Steven, Carolina's up next. Broncos have 10 days of rest. Pat Surtain should be back. What do they need to do to win at home against your other former team, the Carolina Panthers?
Play together. The Carolina Panthers, at least from the outside looking in, look like they're going through something. With that being said, my mentality when it comes to games, if a commentator out there wants to say that one team is weaker than the other, cool. They get paid to put power rankings together, so forth, so be it. Any team can win any day in the league. So you need to show up and be ready to play. And because your name is on it, is attached to it, your reputation, your legacy, and for some people, the amount of money they want to get paid this year or next year, you need to go out there and play your best. So this is the time for everyone to go out there and show that they are the man that they continue to pay, or they should pay, or need to pay, or need to highlight. So at the end of the day, this is another opponent. Defense, play together. Continue being in, like, what are they, 2nd right now in sacks? That's great. Number 1 in red zone defense. Keep it tight. Keep playing together. On offense, I think it's always a little bit difficult. If you get up, don't show too much, but at the same time, play together. And I think this is a time to sharpen up that run game and bring that style and element, so that whoever they play next, the Ravens, they see that. So this is a chance to build on the momentum of Javonte. Add in a couple more elements, try to work Cortland in a little bit more. You have a couple more other weapons that are starting to blossom. Maybe one of them is a quicker than fast kind of guy that can make someone miss in the RPO, turn a 3-yard gain into a 17-yard gain. This is the week to see who can really be that person that Sean Payton is literally calling for in regards to this Joker character. So like, this is a lot of chance for a lot of offensive weapons to step up and say, Coach, I think I can do that. They get 1 or 2 plays in. When the time comes, they get the chance to shine. I think that's what they need to win. And just remember, it's about them getting better. Don't play down the competition. Don't listen to outside noise.
Exactly.
If your job is to push or on this power play to get your guy, get him, dominate him, work up to the next level. It's business. For sure.
Absolutely. I fully expect Vance Joseph to stick with stick with what he's been doing. Highest pressure rate in the league, highest blitz rate in the league. He's been doing a fantastic job. Love the Vance Joseph revival arc in Denver. I think he's going to be a really, really hot head coaching candidate coming up this next season. What he's done, I mean, especially with some of these defensive guys, 1 first-round pick on this whole defense, only 1, and that's Pat.
Yes.
That's it. You've got 3rd, 4th-round picks playing really, really good ball.
Yes, and that is the mindset that a coach needs to develop, so that it is your system. When you can take guys that are supposed to be not super skilled because they're not 1st, 2nd round picks, you can have them out there competing and winning on the NFL stage. That goes to show that your scheme is great, your culture is good. Anyone can come in and do what they need to do to help win. So like that right there, to show that you can do that as a defensive coordinator, I think should automatically put you in a head coaching consideration. Because imagine if you could get a whole team on board. So I like that he's getting those looks and getting that respect.
Love it. Before we get out of here, Steven, first of all, thank you so much again for your time today. You've been amazing. Couple last questions for you. Should the Denver Broncos make a trade before the trade deadline? And is there a certain position that you think they need to upgrade with a trade? We talked about the
they need to upgrade. Yeah, man, they don't need a linebacker. But
they've been doing pretty well.
Like, I'm weird. Yeah, right. They don't need a linebacker. I just always think straight defense and depth. But on offense, I would go get a that's exactly what I would get. I would go get a quicker than fast, kind of like a Wes Welker style receiver, someone who is a matchup problem for sure. And just put them in the slot and have them just be a problem for everyone out there. Switch routes, combinations, high-low combinations, drag routes, something that is easy and simple for Bo whenever he gets in trouble and his feet do start to get a little bit hot. If they continue to stay hot, someone can just dump it down to for a quick 3-4 yard gain. And that person can make someone miss. And then that can turn into that big game. They rest a little bit because the running backs are doing their thing, bring them back on the field. So a weapon like that somewhere around the league, I think would do wonders right now.
Yeah, I think the biggest position that I feel like they do need an upgrade at for sure is tight end. They need a tight end that can be effective in the blocking game. Troutman's fine. He's not a better blocker, I feel like, than Chris Manhertz, who was on the team last year. But he's serviceable.
Oh, I remember Chris.
Right? Oh yeah,
I played with him a couple years. Yeah,
dude, that guy can block.
After Mercedes Lewis, who was I don't care what anyone says, he was an offensive lineman that was disguised as a tight end, especially when he was in Green Bay. Chris Manhertz was really good, especially when we were in Carolina. He could stay on the point and stay on the block was key. Like, you had to fight entirely or else you were going to end up on your backside. So, I like what you're saying there. Someone that can contribute, but also someone with a little bit of wiggle in the pass game. So when they bring that Sam linebacker over to cover you, he's 6'2" to 6'5", 230, max 240. But if you can leave him and get some separation of 5 yard out, that's exactly what they could use. Right.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like, and it'll always come down to, what's the cost going to be? Are they going to have to send a premium pick? David Njoku is one of those names that has been kind of circling around. I kind of threw that one out too. He's got 2 years left on his deal, or 1 year after this one. But if the Browns are looking to strip down, the Broncos need a tight end. He can be serviceable in the blocking game and in the pass game. I think that would be a pretty serviceable option. But I mean, we talked about Kamara. That would be a fun one, but who knows? That contract's massive. Sean Payton and him had a huge embrace after the game. For a fact there was
one of those "I'll come get you" kind of hugs.
Hey, coach, come get me, please. Get me out of here. If only it would happen. Steven, thank you so much for doing this. This was awesome, man. Always good to have former Broncos on. Let the people know where they can find you.
Instagram at the Stephen Weatherly Foundation or at Stephen_Weatherly. That's my foundation work and that's my personal page. So we'll be trying to do a little bit of both football and trying to help better communities around the U.S.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Make sure that you subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Make sure that you follow me on Twitter at Patrick Coyote. Follow at Bleav Network as well. And until next time, Broncos country, we'll be seeing you. Thank you.